everybody, welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for being here. I'm so happy to see you again, even though I can't really see you. But, you know, I'm just really happy you're here, and if you're new here, welcome, and if you're coming back, welcome again. Oh my god, I'm so happy you're still here. So today's video is one that I was very conflicted about making, because it's quite honestly a topic that I'm still really kind of insecure talking about, even though it's something that I have dealt with for such a long time. But then, I was recently on a podcast. It's called the Kinda Healthy Podcast, and it's about like finding how health works for you personally and not subscribing to some really crazy ideas and all that. I just naturally just started talking about it, and I realized that I was okay with talking about it to people that I didn't know on the internet, and also it made me realize how much I needed someone like me in the beginning stages of all of this. So you're probably thinking like, oh, what is this? I have a chronic illness. It's called chronic fatigue syndrome, and it is completely invisible. And I've had it since I was about 16. And I know that the name makes it sound like a crock of BS, but it's not. Basically, how I would explain it is, I'm basically some level of physically exhausted all the time, and it just fluctuates at certain points after doing certain things or just for no reason at all. When it does fluctuate, when it flares up really bad, I don't get joint pains. Polly's wildin' right now. She is just, hey, come here. Hi. Oh god. Oh boy. Oh boy. When it fluctuates, when it flares up, I don't get joint pains, but my muscles feel so tired. Usually, if it's a really bad flare, I don't leave my bed much. I leave to like go eat and then go to the bathroom, and that's pretty much it. The best way I can describe it is you are very tired, like you are physically exhausted, mentally and physically. Your brain doesn't really work all that well that day, and your muscles feel like you just did like a full body workout the day before at the gym. And it's not so much crampy, but they're just really, really tired. So that's basically what it is for me, and I know that I am extremely fortunate in having it to the degree that I do, because I follow some people on Instagram and stuff, and I have read about people who this is a completely debilitating illness and they can't do basic human functions anymore. Like I've read about a girl who had it so bad that she had to have her parents come over and have them help her change her bed sheets. Like it can be that bad, and so I am very fortunate that it's not. But I still do deal with this invisible illness that a lot of people don't really know exists. And so I wanted to make this video to kind of tell my story with that. Because, like I said, I realized how much I needed someone like me when I was first getting diagnosed through all this. So I'm going to kind of tell my story and just kind of go into it from there. I made my cup of half calf here, and so I'm ready to do this. I feel like it's going to be kind of long, so like go grab a snack and a drink or whatever, and let's just get right into it. Okay, so this whole ordeal started like my junior year of high school. And so I was around 15, 16 years old. I was one of the younger ones in my class. Like I graduated when I was 17. So I was like 15 or 16. And I don't remember what time my junior year it was. I don't know that much. I can't remember. But it was my junior year of high school. And I not all of a sudden, but I progressively just started to feel more and more lethargic and more just exhausted about like after doing anything. And at that time, I was also having really sharp pains on my left side. So naturally, I went to my doctor because it didn't let up after a few weeks. And so I went to the doctor, And the first thing they wanted to kind of tackle was the lethargy and the just the exhaustion that I was feeling. Um, I had a virus that was pretty similar to mono, like in 8th grade. It wasn't mono, but it was very similar to it. Um, and I felt very similar to that at this point in terms of energy levels and exhaustion. Yeah, the first thing they decided to kind of combat was the energy levels, and so they very much thought it could have been the medications that I was currently on for my mental health. So we switched that. It was not a pleasant experience at all, but it didn't work. After I did make that switch, it most definitely did not work. It worked for me mentally, but it didn't work in terms of the energy levels. Then they ran blood work, and we found out that all we could find out from the blood work was that there was some sort of inflammation somewhere in my body. That was all we knew. So we kind of had to run with that, and this is when the other tests kind of started. So I had a full body MRI that was about an hour and a half. That really sucked. Because I'm from a very small town and our hospital doesn't have the nice ones where you can listen to music. So it was just me like in a tube listening to a machine going for like an hour and a half. Yeah. And then I had to have I don't remember exactly what it was. I think it was like a CAT scan or something, but with contrast. And so I had to like drink this juice before, and it tasted like fruit punch. And basically it like lit up my insides when I went in, and it was pretty cool. I got to see like my intestines and stuff, so that was neat. But I had that done, and none of those really came back with any other results either. My doctor did tell us after my MRI came back okay, that because of the sharp pains I was having in my side, she was pretty much expecting to find a mass of some kind like in my stomach. So we were all happy that did not happen, but we were all also very confused because we still had zero answers and I was still feeling like garbage. After that, I wound up going to an infectious disease doctor, and I described everything that had been going on to him, and he said, judging by what I was describing, he would hypothesize that I had a virus somewhere in my abdomen. He kind of was thinking my stomach, that was attacking the lymph nodes. And so he ran more blood work, and then we got a phone call like 2 weeks later saying that nothing was up in my blood, or nothing was showing in my blood, and then and if I had a virus, that it was gone. And so that was really sad, honestly, because we felt after seeing him that we were finally going to get like some kind of an answer, but we didn't. And so after we got that phone call, and I was still feeling like garbage 100% of the time, we decided that it was time to go somewhere else. And so we decided to go to the University of Michigan's Children's Hospital. And this was in conjunction with my doctors back at home. They were very understanding about us wanting to go somewhere else because this was just so confusing. And like, as much as some people were suggesting that, oh, it's just teenage hormones, it was like, I always said, okay, if it's teenage hormones, then why aren't all my friends feeling this way as well? So we made the plunge, and we decided to start going to different specialists at the University of Michigan's Children's Hospital because I was 16, and so I did have to go to pediatric doctors at that point in my life. My first appointment at the University of Michigan was, I believe, with a pediatric infectious disease doctor. He was like not general medicine, but he wasn't like a specialist. I think he was an infectious disease doctor. I don't even know if I described that right. Don't take offense if you're an infectious disease doctor, please. Thank you. And this was when we kind of found out that the whole idea of chronic fatigue syndrome was even like a thing. We had never heard of this before. And what he kind of thought happened was that I did have a virus earlier on, and then it went away, but then my body decided to keep fighting it off after it went away, and it kind of ran itself into this rut that is having a hard time getting out of, if it'll ever get out of it. I have since learned that I don't think it'll ever get out of it, but that's what he kind of was thinking happened. But in order to get officially diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, you have to get everything else that it could be ruled out first. And so that started this long string of just doctor's appointments. And if you know, I'm from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. And so U of M is in Ann Arbor, and so it's about a 6-hour drive each time. So we kind of started that whole string, and it was a pain in the butt, and it was over like the course of a year. After the pediatric, what I believe was an infectious disease doctor, I went to a pediatric psychiatrist, which I'm honestly not sure what the point of that was, because I had a therapist back at home. I can't remember their reasoning for that. All I remember is that nothing really came out of it. I think they just wanted to see like if there was anything like psychologically going on, and that was why I went there, but I honestly don't really know the reasoning for that, so. But I did it. After the pediatric psychiatrist or psychologist, I don't remember what specifically she was, I went to a pediatric rheumatologist, and this was to get tested for lupus, because some of the symptoms I was having were kind of lupus-ish, and that was really scary. But that also went fine, and lupus was officially ruled out after that. My last and final doctor's appointment was a pediatric endocrinologist, and this was to have a look at my thyroid. The kind of main one we were looking at was Hashimoto's, because I was having a lot of symptoms of Hashimoto's. But everything was fine, and that was officially ruled out too. The day after Christmas, actually. So I spent my Christmas in a car that year, and I remember my parents and I had really good dinner at a sushi restaurant, so that was really nice. But yeah, day after Christmas, so it had officially been a whole year of doctor's appointments and tests and everything. It got ruled out officially that pretty much everything that they thought it could be, it was not, and that was when it was decided that it was chronic fatigue syndrome. So that's kind of like the diagnosis process, I guess. It's a pain in the ass. I'm not gonna lie about that at all. Yeah, and all of this was going on when I was like 16, so that added a whole lot of other problems to it, and I had just been diagnosed with all my mental health stuff, like a few months prior to all of this happening as well. So that whole time of my life was just not ideal. But I guess that kind of leads into my story with like life around that time. So when I was having all these tests done, I was still in school. I was still in high school. And over the course of everything that was going on, my parents were sending my teachers updates like crazy. Like, they were sending them test results, they were sending them updates about what I was going to be doing in terms of appointments and tests and everything. And even after that, I was still not believed by about 75% of them. And they thought I was just skipping school, basically. They didn't believe anything was going on. They thought I was just lazy and blah, blah, blah. And up until, well, not even up until this point, because during all of this, I was still a good student. I was a good student. Like, I was super involved in everything. I was in student government, honor society, theater, band, everything. Like, I did everything except sports. But I was involved. All the teachers knew me. Like, I mean, my school is pretty small, but a lot of the teachers all knew me, and like the principals knew me, and all this stuff in a good way. And yeah, so I was a good student. And so the fact that I was not believed by, like, I would say 75% of my teachers was awful. And it took a toll on me mentally that I can't explain to anybody. Because I am an only child, and so I'm kind of a people pleaser by nature. That's one thing I've learned in therapy. And so the fact that this was going on with me and we had no idea what it was, but nobody was believing me, because the days that I went to school, I looked fine. I didn't look sick. It was really hard to handle. And I still am so, so grateful for the teachers that did believe me and did handle the whole situation with grace and care, because I can't even express enough how much that meant to me in that time. I would say after everything, I missed about the entire second half of my junior year of high school, and I missed probably 75% of my senior year of high school. And so I get it, like as a teacher, I get it. It has to be frustrating to have a student that's gone all the time. But when you have like their parents backing them up about what's going on, I just don't think that like just because it's something that you don't understand doesn't mean you like don't get you it doesn't mean you get to not believe them. Because as hard as it is for you to believe, it's harder for the 16-year-old that's going through all of this. I can promise you that. So yeah, because none of my teachers believed me, well, not none, the majority of my teachers didn't believe me, so because of this, I got cut no slack with assignments, tests, none of that. I was doing makeup homework for roughly 10 to 12 hours on a weekend. I taught myself everything. I remember, and this was for one of the teachers that was like really cool about everything, so I didn't really care, but I went into school on a Saturday, during Saturday school that he had to like host, to make up an exam. And it was really kind of nice because I got to be like deuces to all the kids that were in Saturday school, but still, like, I went into school on a Saturday to make up a test. That's how hard I was trying to prove that this was a real thing that was going on with me, and I was willing to do anything to make them believe that, because honestly, the burden of them not believing it was a very big thing for me to handle. Like I said, I was still very much expected to take exams and the ACTs at the same pace that all my colleagues had to take them. And yeah, yeah. That's all I really have to say about that, I guess. The thing is I was going through all of this, but I was still, like, my social life was still important, and I tried making it important, but school was also really important. So I had to, like, learn how to live the rest of my high school experience to the fullest that I could, but I also had to start making cuts as well. And so I had to drop my, the musical I was a part of. I was stage managing it, or was I assistant directing? I can't remember what I was doing for that show. But I had to drop it either way, because I just couldn't handle that responsibility, and I didn't want to make the production any harder than it had to be because of my, like, unreliability. And so I had to drop my senior show, so that really sucked. And I also had to make cuts to my class schedule as well. And so I had to cut out basically all of my fun classes. I had to cut my art classes. I had just like a study hour, I cut that. Basically the only fun class that I kept was band. And so the reason I did this was because it allowed me to come in at 10 at 10 a.m. So I didn't have to start school at 7:30 like everybody else. I came in at 10. And of course, with that came like really dumb comments from like classmates and stuff, being like, oh, you're so lucky, like, nah. And I was just wanted to be like, yeah, well, I'm only doing it because I feel like shit all the time, so, like, sorry, nah. But, I mean, I knew they didn't understand what was going on, so it's whatever. Like, we were all kids, like, nobody understood what was going on with me, not even me. And, like, in high school, during all this, like, I still went to my proms, and I was homecoming queen my senior year, and, like, all this stuff, and I just had to take the good with the bad and know that those things were really good, fun things that I will have memories forever of, but they were also probably going to cause me to miss a week of school after. Because at that point, any kind of crazy energy exertion like that just put me out. And so my senior year, I took my spring break trip to Disney World. I was only 17, so I didn't go to Mexico with everybody else, because I couldn't drink, and that's literally like the only reason they go to Mexico, so they can drink. So I couldn't do that because I was 17. And so my parents and I, we went to Disney World, and it was so much fun. We went for a week, And because of everything that was going on with me health-wise, I got the disability passes that kind of allow you to skip the lines. And I know for a fact I would not have been able to do that trip without those. They were lifesavers. They were really nice, but like if I could have been functioning normally and not have been able to get them, I would have taken that over being able to skip the lines at Disney World, to be completely honest with you. I still do get them, so that's cool. But yeah. So after this week at Disney World, I returned to school after a month. I was out for roughly like 3.5 weeks to a month because it was really bad and worth it, but bad. So this is kind of like the main, like what I'm about to talk about is like kind of the main story that I remember from all of this. And like the person in question, like they've since apologized, and that meant a lot to me. But and this is when I just want to say, like, teachers, if you're a teacher and you're watching this, like, I respect you and I love you so much for doing what you do. Teachers are superheroes, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. But if an otherwise good student, an involved student, starts going through something like I'm explaining right now, even if you don't necessarily believe it or you don't necessarily understand it, just pretend like you do. Because I can tell you it will mean the world to that student. So with that, coming off of my soapbox, so basically my first day back after the Disney World trip, I could have not gone, but it was my senior year of high school. Like, I wanted to go. And my parents wanted to take me. After my senior trip and being gone for a month, my first class back was band class. And guys, I had been in band since middle school. Was I good at it? No. But did I love it? Yes. I was super involved in band. I did a lot for band. And I was good friends with like everybody that I was in band with. And so I went in and I knew my senior concert was like a week away. And I knew that I didn't know any of the music. But I had full intention. I still remember to this day, I had full intention to make that my priority, like over any other homework that I had. Band was going to be my priority, and I was going to teach myself all of that music that I missed. And I was going to play in my senior concert because I had been in band for 7 years. With the same people for the most part, too. I got there, we started playing. I played trombone. There was a particular part in the music that was really, really hard, and the people in my section still hadn't gotten it down, even though they had been there. And so my director made us go down one by one to play it, which wasn't anything abnormal. And when he got to me, I was like, I raised my hand and I was like, respectfully, like, I haven't been here. Like, I've been sick. And so I'm just looking at this for the first time. And granted, this is in front of the entire class we were doing this. And he looks me in the eyes and goes, well, that's just too bad, isn't it, Megan? And this teacher was one of the teachers that I looked up to the most in high school. And I feel like music teachers just have that effect on their kids. I think they're just kind of like a second parent to a point. And I knew that he was having issues kind of grasping what was going on, but I also knew that my parents were keeping him very informed. And to be humiliated like that in front of everybody, in front of all my peers, when I was already self-conscious about coming back to school after a month of being gone because I was literally too sick to leave my couch and my bed, to have that be the first interaction that I had was terrible. And I remember too that pretty much everybody in band knew knew what was going on with me, or knew that I was going through stuff. And that was why I was missing so much school. And I remember after he said that to me, there was just this really uncomfortable silence in the room, because I was friends with a lot of people, and I think they understood like how hurt I was by that. Um, and so I just kind of said okay, and I started crying, and but I kind of concealed it to the best of my ability and blamed it on allergies. Um, yeah, and so he talked to me after class and told me that I had to prove to him by the end of the week that I knew my music, and or else I wouldn't be able to play in the show, in my last senior show, which I had already purchased his senior gift. That was going to be on behalf of my entire graduating class and band. I purchased that. And I said, okay. And after that, I was so put off from that I didn't play in my last show, because that was just such a low blow that I can't even, the amount of hurt that I felt from that when I didn't even know what was going on. At the age of 16. To be humiliated and questioned like that in front of a group of my peers was terrible. I'm sorry. Basically, after that, I went home. And I told my parents what happened, and my dad is not a person to get visibly angry often, but he was visibly angry. He's the one that came and picked me up that day. And he was visibly angry. And him and my band teacher, they kind of like knew each other a little bit. And so my dad actually emailed him and was like, hey, can we like sit down and talk about this? And we had actually found this like letter online that was like a form letter for that kind of helped explain to teachers a student's point of view that was going through what I was going through. And I feel like when my dad read that, that's kind of when he started to fully understand what was happening in my mind. And so he brought it to my band director, and they talked about it, and I got an apology. And that, the apology meant a lot to me, truly. But that whole experience, like, it's still really hard for me to talk about, which is so stupid because it was such a long time ago, and my high school experience was otherwise, like, okay. But it just hurt, and it just hurt. And that's all I really have to say about that. I still failed my band class, because of lack of participation. And then I also found out later that my guidance counselor had told my parents that he didn't think I was going to make it in college. They didn't tell me this until I was like almost done with college, but I found out that that was something that my high school guidance counselor told my parents. After all of this, after all of the humiliation and the hours and hours of makeup work and taking the ACTs feeling like death, I graduated high school the same time everybody else did, with a 3.2 GPA. And damn it, I was proud of myself, and I was so excited to get out of that place, which was really sad because I loved school. And the fact that I was excited to be done with my grade school years was very, very sad to me. But once I got to college was a dream. I got to make my own schedule. All my professors were extremely understanding because in high school, I did this thing that they have in Michigan called a 504 plan, and it kind of set aside special accommodations for me. Whether or not the teachers wanted to abide by that was their own business, even though legally they kind of had to, but they still didn't sometimes. So I had this 504 plan, and it transferred over to college. And so basically, all I had to do in the beginning of all my classes each semester was go up to my professors and be like, hey, I have this thing. Like, I have paperwork in the disabilities office. If you need it, I can have them fax it to you. I basically just had to say, like, my absences might be more than, like, their syllabus allowed or whatever, and because I had this plan in place, they kind of had to abide by it. But I never ran into a professor that was mean about it. They were all so understanding, and it was just such a breath of fresh air. And so in college, I thrived, dude. I studied abroad, I was in extracurriculars, I graduated, and I got a job 2 weeks later after graduating. And I made the dean's list a number of times as well. So, to that guidance counselor, honestly, really, truly, cheers. So now, present day, I still have this illness. And living with it day to day, no day is really the same. My energy levels fluctuate like crazy. Sleep really isn't restful for me, which kind of sucks, but I still have to get it. But like, I could basically get 5 hours of sleep or 15 hours of sleep, and there's really not that big of a difference. I had to learn to accept that I had to be the flaky friend sometimes and have plans up until that day, and maybe 2 hours I had to cancel them because I could not, like, I just couldn't. Like, I just can't. I didn't have the energy to make it. Like, I had to learn that that was my new thing. And so I accept it because there's really nothing I can do about it. I had to learn with people being like, oh, well, you look really good for being sick, or you don't look sick, or any of those kinds of variations, because you get told that a lot, and it's annoying. I've also really learned how to tell when I'm gonna have a flare-up. So, like literally the other day, I had a work event after work, but I could tell that my chronic fatigue was getting really bad, and so I chose not to go because I had to work the next day. And sure enough, I conked out like that, and I felt okay the next day, but still not great. But I learned to kind of I can tell those tells, I guess, if that makes sense. And you also have to learn how to budget your energy. So I've gotten very good at that. If I have a very exciting thing coming up that I don't want to miss, I don't do anything really out of my personal routine. I do everything in my power to make my chronic fatigue not flare up for that event. And then sometimes I know after that event, I might be down and out for a few days. And that's just how it goes. Working from home has been a lifesaver for me, honestly, because I can just roll out of bed and start working. I don't need to get ready. I don't need to take transit to work. I can just work. And that has been such a life changer for me. And I know it's because of a really bad thing, but it's been very nice. It affects me still to this day, and I don't think it'll ever not affect me. But I've really just kind of learned to own it and to make it kind of a weird, interesting, cool part of my identity, because not everybody has a chronic illness, and not everybody has like this secret thing that nobody knows about unless you tell them, and it's kind of like, ooh, fun. No, it's not fun at all. You don't want this, but that's kind of how I've learned to look at it, is it's just me, and it's my new normal, and that's how I had to accept it. And I think going through it at such a young age too really helped me, because I was able to grow up with it and see it evolve and learn, like I said, like those tells. So growing up with it has honestly helped a lot. It sucked, but it's helped me understand me and my body a lot more. I have gotten a spoon tattoo, which I will link the whole spoon thing down below. Spoonies unite, hells yeah, let's go. I'll link the spoon theory down below, and it's a really, really good way to describe to people what people with chronic illnesses have to do in terms of budgeting their energy. So I have a spoon tattooed on my ankle. That's my extra spoon that I keep with me all the time. And I also made invisible illnesses my senior capstone project. And I did a whole project around it, and it was such a good just end on my whole college career. And I do want to add, during all of my like doctor's appointments and stuff, obviously my weight was brought up a lot. They said, eat better, exercise more, lose weight, and you'll be better. And I can tell you that has not happened. Okay? That has not happened. I honestly think it's gotten a little bit worse because losing 115 pounds is kind of a stress on your body. And so I think it made it a little bit worse. Was it worth it? Yes. Have I adapted? Also yes. But it has not made it go away like everybody was so adamant it was going to. And that is on period. There's not alcohol in this, I promise. I'm just talking about this is really emotional, so I just try and like make it as comedic as possible sometimes. Talking about it to people, like I just said, is very scary for me, even including like medical professionals, because this isn't well recognized in the medical community, at least not in the US. When I went to England, it was a whole different story. But when I was here, or when I'm here, it's not recognized very well at all. And so talking about it to anybody makes me very self-conscious. Talking about it to anybody makes me very self-conscious because I've just gotten so used to people just not believing me right out the gate, or being like, oh, well, I'm really tired all the time too. Maybe I have that. Like, nah. It's like, no, Karen, you don't have that. But if you want to go through the year of testing, be my guest. Like I said, I made invisible illnesses and invisible chronic illnesses the focal point of my college senior project. And this was like in a gallery, and so people could go see it. And we had to leave our business cards out next to our project. And I got text messages from people who got my number from my business cards saying how much they appreciated this project. I had people at the closing reception coming up to me crying, saying they have never felt more believed and more validated than they did when they saw that project. And I can't even explain to you like how validating that was for me to hear. And it also made me realize how many people are out there who have chronic illnesses or invisible chronic illnesses that we don't know, right? We don't know that. And so, if anything, this whole experience has taught me that we just need to learn to be more understanding and kinder to each other. And we don't ever know what anybody is going through, right? And so that's what compelled me to make this video as well, because like I said, I realized how much I needed someone like me to make a video like this when 16-year-old Megan was going through all of this, because that would have made me feel so much better and so much more valid in what was going on. And I want to afford that to you. If you are going through something like this, it is valid and I believe you. Okay? I don't know if you needed to hear that, but if you did, I believe you wholeheartedly, and I will not question the validity for a second, because if you think it's something that's happening, then that's enough for me. And I want you to know that you have someone right here to talk to about the struggles of living with a chronic illness or an invisible illness or a chronic invisible illness. You can talk to me about that anytime, because I know what it's like. And that's why I wanted to make this video. Oh, also, I know that was really sentimental, but now I'm going to kind of go back to being a little bit sassy. I'm not looking for medical advice. I am not looking for medical advice. I have tried everything under the sun to get this to go away, and it did not work. And I have consulted with doctors and specialists, and there's really nothing I can do about it. So I'm not looking for armchair doctor advice. Okay. But yes, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm so sorry for how long this is about to be, but I hope you enjoyed it. And the next video I think will be a little more lighthearted, but I just wanted to put this out there because I feel like I'm going to talk about it on my channel, and so why the hell not? So yeah, thank you all so much for being here. I love you so, so much, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!